morning. So this video is designed to teach you about some beginning stuff on Excel. So if you never used Excel before, this is just a quick little introduction to it. If you've used it before, I think you'll find it pretty easy to do. So if you've never used it before, these are cells. Each one of these are cells. This is cell B2 and so on and so forth. These are columns. These are rows. Pretty easily done. Down at the bottom you'll see these little tabs. You can add more tabs if that makes you happy. You can rename the tabs by right clicking on them and then calling it, if you want to make it I don't know, house, maybe that's the name of your sheet. So that's some things you can do with them. Oops. And just so that you have some little more freedom to deal with stuff. Now what we can do up here is we can name each of these cells whatever we want to. So for instance, right now this is A1. Okay. A lot of times what I'm going to have you do is put up here the initial amount that you owe. For instance, suppose we owe $10,000. Okay. Over here, suppose I have a 5% loan, so 0.05. Up here, I'm going to actually label this as interest. Now it's important. Excuse me. It's important once you've named it interest up there, you hit enter. Okay, now that saves it. So now anytime you click this cell, you're talking about this interest. That's going to be helpful because when I update later on, it's going to update everything. And over here, we can make a payment of say $500 in. Okay, and we can call that pay or payment or whatever makes you happy. There's no rules for that. It's whatever makes it. Don't label this cell here though. I've seen too many people over the years mess that up by labeling this guy. So suppose we owe $100,000. Okay, we're going to be making monthly payments. Now it's important when you're doing Excel that you always have to use equals when you start something off if you want to do a calculation. So I'm going to do a calculation now. So it's equals this thing here, the initial amount, times, parentheses, we're going to do 1 plus our interest divided by 12. Because when you're doing a loan, any kind of credit cards, any kind of loan, it's always going to be monthly. It's almost always 99.9% of the time it'll be monthly payments, monthly compounding. And then we're going to subtract the payment off of that. Okay, and if you hit enter, voila, there it goes. Now you know the payment's sufficient because it obviously came down in price. If it went up more than 100,000, for instance, suppose my initial payment was only 200. Notice how it went up. How much I owe. This is now how much I owe after that first month. And it went up. So 200 wasn't enough. So 500 was enough to get it to come down. It may not be enough to take care of it though. Now suppose you had a 30-year loan. Well, 30-year loan, of course, is 360 months. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to drag it down to 361. Now 361 because the first one was year 0. Notice this baby should be 0, but it's not. It's not at all. It's 30,000 and something. Now, if you have Excel 2007, okay, it's kind of cool because you can do this on 2010 too, but what you're looking for is Excel options, and in 2010 it's under, I think, the File tab. But you go Options, Add-ins, and then Go, and you want the Solver add-in. And once it installs, it'll be under Solver right here under the Data tab. Now this is one way to do this. There's lots of other ways. But what I want is I want A361 to have a value of 0. In other words, I want to pay the loan off. And I'm going to do that by changing the payment. Okay? And so the payment should be $537 or thereabouts. Now, some people want to mess with it this way. They're like, oh, gee, I started out at 500, so maybe I'll bump it to 525. And then you could, keep track. Ooh, that's not enough. And you could dork around with it that way. That's one way to do it, But I think it's useful because then you can kind of see that it doesn't take much. You can kind of hone in on it pretty quickly. Okay. Another way to do it is, in all versions of Excel have this. If you go to Formulas, and you go to Financial, and you look at PMT, this box shows up. Now this box is the cool way of doing it. If you know how to type it in, you can do it without doing the box, but this box makes it easier. Make sure you read down here. So this is the interest rate for the loan, but this is for, see, for quarterly you divide by 4. So we are doing monthly payments, so 0.05 divided by 12. Number of payments for the loan is 360. Present value is $100,000. Okay? Future value is 0, but notice how these are kind of grayed out. It means you don't need them. So it defaults to 0, and then the type doesn't matter. And so here's the deal: $536. If I hit OK, this is the payment that I would need to use. Notice it's in red and it's in parentheses. That means it's negative. Obviously, it has to be opposite of whatever your loan amount is. Had I made my loan amount negative, then this would have come out to be positive. For instance, right here, this would have come out to be positive 536. It doesn't really make any difference at all. Okay? It's just a way of looking at it. Okay. Now, what happens after, say, 10 years? Well, 10 years would be 120 months, right? So this is after, this is the last payment for the 10 years. Suppose that after 10 years you refinance your loan. Say, so you still have a balance of $82,999.33. Okay? What if you want to refinance that for, say, 15 years, and say you can get a 3% note? Oh, okay. So then what I'm going to do again is go to Financial, and go to Payment, and oops, that's not what I want. So if I have a 3%, that's 0.03 divided by 12. Okay. 15 years is 180 months. Present value would be this thing right here. It means I'd have to pay $537 from here on out. Okay. Now, what this thing right here is saying to me is this: it's saying, well, okay, remember it's a negative. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to do a minus there, so this comes out a positive. Okay. So right here, I'm going to change my formula now from here on out. But before I do, I'm going to rename this guy. This thing right here, okay, I'm going to rename it as new pay. Okay? So right here, I'm going to come in here and change this formula. So I'm going to subtract off of that. I'm going to subtract new pay. Oh yes, it doesn't like that. Hold that thought a moment. Okay, let me back off of that for just a second. Okay. Okay, undo. Sorry. So over here I'm just going to actually physically type in negative 82,999.33. There. Now it'll work. Now if I come over here, if I do now minus new pay, it works. Notice this little green arrow means it's different than all the ones around it, which obviously. So now we need to scroll down another 180 months. Well, that'll put us at 322, I think. What? What did I leave off? 120. No, 122. Plus 180 is 302. Okay. So right here at 342 months is where we're having. Is when we're all right. I see the other problem I forgot to do. I forgot to change the interest too. So I'm going to put 0.03 over here. So we got a 3% interest now. I'm going to name this new int. And then right here, I'm going to change this formula up a little bit, so it's not interest now, it's new int from here on out. And you should be able to double click on this. My computer doesn't like to sometimes for whatever reason. Now it did. Don't know why it decides to, but there it is. Oops. There it is. And then so that was that way. Notice I didn't change this one, so you got to drag it down again. And it should do it at 302 months, I think is what I said. Yeah. So right here at 302 is when it crosses over the line. It's from being positive to negative. So right around the 301 month time. Okay, now, how many payments is that? Well, it's 180 payments of, well, let's come back up here. It's 180 payments of 573 of those guys. So if I wanted to calculate that, I'd go equals 180 times 573 plus 120, because 10 months of the 10 years of the other one, of 536.82. So I paid $167,000 on my loan. Okay, notice I paid it off in 25 years. Originally it was going to take me 30 years, so equals 360 times this guy. It would have normally cost me $193,000. I saved like $30,000 by paying it off sooner. Okay, part of your financial loan calculation be, well, what if? How long is that? What's going to happen to that? Maybe you're going to do a what if where, suppose I can pay an extra $100 this month. Okay, so you put in an extra $100. Okay, maybe you pay an extra $100 for a while, so click and drag that baby down. You know, how long does that affect? How does that affect things as you're doing it? Okay, you can tweak that as much as you want. You can goof around as much as you want. But that's the game. That's how we're going to play those with the Excel. Okay. As far as finding this payment, I don't care if you use the solver, if you use PMT, if you guess. If you guess, you can get within, you know, a few dollars. I don't care. You can use apps for your mobile phone, your iPad, iPod. There's financial calculators. I think Quicken Loans has one online. I don't care. Just whatever you do to get here to get this payment is all I care about. Okay. On the test, you know, you'll have access to the computer, so it's not a big deal. But that's how we're going to work those. Okay. Again, whenever you do something in Excel, suppose I wanted to add equals, you know, this guy plus this guy. All I have to do is click on it if I want to. Okay. Here's something that's kind of a bit of a problem though. If I drag that down, oh, what happened? It changed a little bit on us. Well, the reason it changed is because if you look at it, this guy is defined to be pay, but this guy is just F6. So when I drag it down, it looks for whatever's below F6. And oh, well, an F5, I mean. Whatever's below F5 is just F6, and it's 0 here. Okay, so be aware of that. So on this one, it was F5, which has something in it, plus pay, so no problem. When I just drag it on a page, though, there it goes. Now, that's why I like to use interest and pay here, because if you just put this guy and then this guy and drag it down, these are all zeros all the rest of the way down the page, and nothing's going to happen. There's a way around that, so if you're good with Excel and you know how to lock those values in without naming them, you're certainly welcome to do that. I don't care, but I find it easier just to name them, because then I can change it up as I want to as I go along. I find it's easier that way. I think that's all I want to say on this. If you mess something up with your names, you want to lose these names, you click on Name Manager, which is under Formulas. Come in here, say you want to click this, you can change where you locate it, you can edit it, or you can just delete it. Bear in mind, if you delete it, it changes everything over here, so just be careful of that. If you don't want it deleted, don't do it. And I think that's all. Oh, also, sometimes recently used is helpful. Any formulas you used recently is under recently used, so if you've used it but you can't remember where you put it, under here they can show up. I think that's it.